A robot picked up a sword, not a prop, a real sword, and then it danced. Not a stiff, jerky, programmed routine either. We're talking full spins, precise blade control, coordinated jumps, clean landings. The kind of performance that took human martial artists years to master. And this thing pulled it off on camera without flinching. That happened last week. And it's honestly one of the least insane things I'm going to show you today. Because while most of us were going about our normal lives, China just put dozens of humanoid robots on one of the most watched TV stages on the planet in front of hundreds of millions of people, and had them do backflips, kung fu, and parkour. Live, no CGI, no safety net. And then a UK startup quietly announced they built a walking bipedal robot from scratch in 3 months. So yeah, we need to talk about this. Here's what's coming in this video. We're going to break down that sword-dancing robot and why it's actually more technically impressive than it looks. Then we'll get into what happened at China's biggest TV show of the year, and I promise, it's not what you'd expect. After that, we'll look at a robot that did no CGI flying kung fu kicks, a British startup that's moving faster than anyone thought possible, and a robot dog quietly doing the work of an entire inspection team inside a massive US factory. Every single thing I'm going to show you happened in the last few weeks. So let's get into it. Let's start with Robotera's L7. The company dropped a video showing this robot performing a full classical Chinese sword dance to celebrate the Lunar New Year. And yes, the cultural side of it is cool, but that's not why it matters. Here's what's actually going on under the surface. The L7 is 5'6", weighs around 143 pounds, and has 55 independently controlled joints. Each arm alone has 7 joints. The hands add 12 more. The waist has 6 degrees of freedom by itself, built from titanium and carbon fiber. Now think about what a sword dance actually requires. You're not just moving your arms. You're doing fast directional changes, timed jumps, mid-air rotations, controlled landings, and the sword is attached to your hand. So if your timing is off by even a fraction of a second, you hit yourself. For the L7 to do this cleanly, its AI system has to be calculating its center of mass, the weight and momentum of the sword, joint torque limits, and ground reaction forces, all at the same time, continuously, in real time. That's not a pre-programmed animation. That's physical reasoning. The robot is making decisions about its own body mid-movement. And it can move at 9 miles per hour, lift up to 44 pounds, and has a full 360-degree field of view. Robotera is very clear. The dance is the proof of concept. The factory floor is the actual destination. But honestly, the sword demo was just the appetizer. Because a few days later something happened that made that sword dance look almost modest. And it happened in front of hundreds of millions of people, live on national television. Stick with me because this next part is where things get genuinely hard to believe. In 2026, humanoid robots weren't a side act or a novelty segment. They were part of the main performance. Unitree Robotics sent fleets of its G1 and H1 humanoid robots onto the stage alongside real human kung fu artists. And these machines perform drunken fist kung fu, which is one of the most dynamic, unpredictable martial arts styles that exists, while also vaulting over tables parkour style and doing aerial flips reaching up to 10 feet in the air. One robot completed a 7.5 rotation air flare spin. That's a move that would challenge a trained human gymnast. During high-speed repositioning between moves, the robots were running at about 13 miles per hour, while avoiding each other. On a crowded stage, live, and then one of them fell. And here's the thing, it didn't stop. It didn't freeze. It executed a spin-based recovery, got back on its feet, and continued the routine as if it was part of the plan. That wasn't choreography luck. That was real-time recovery logic activating mid-performance in front of hundreds of millions of people. There's also a financial side to this that people are sleeping on. 4 major robotics firms, including Unitree, invested around 100 million yuan into production connected to this show. This wasn't an entertainment budget. This was industrial marketing at a national scale. Beijing used this gala intentionally. They were telling the world, our robots are ready. And then another company came out of nowhere with something even more insane. Because Unitree doing backflips on a TV stage is impressive, but what Agibot's robot did in a regular training studio with zero tricks, zero CGI, and zero hype machine behind it, is the kind of footage that genuinely makes you stop and rewatch it. That's next. Agibot unveiled its Expedition A3 Humanoid with a demo video shot inside a real martial arts training studio. The robot executed aerial flying kicks, consecutive airborne strikes, controlled mid-air steps, and rapid spins. And Agibot made it very clear: no CGI, no AI-generated effects. What you see in that footage is what the robot physically did. Technically, the A3 is built for high-interaction commercial environments, retail, brand promotions, live events. It has a flexible waist designed to mirror actual human range of motion, lightweight leg structure for better agility, and arms that can move at 2 meters per second. It runs on a dual battery system good for 8 hours, with fast swap capabilities so it can work a full shift without stopping. The AI driving it handles natural conversation. You don't even have to say a wake word. You can just tap its shoulder. It activates and responds. Agibot also threw a 60-minute robot-led event in Shanghai in early February. 16 humanoids on stage. Music, dance, comedy, flips, synchronized routines, runway walks. Human performers joined in. And the whole thing was also a live stress test, pushing coordination and system stability across 16 robots operating simultaneously. This company is targeting thousands of units shipped this year alone. That's not a demo company anymore. That's a full manufacturing push. Now here's where the story gets interesting from a completely different angle. While China is scaling and performing, a little-known UK startup just pulled off something that the biggest robotics labs in the world haven't managed. And they did it faster than anyone thought was physically possible. And then there's a robot dog patrolling a US factory right now that's quietly saving millions of dollars. Both of those are up next. A UK company called Humanoid released a documentary laying out what they're calling the fastest humanoid development cycle in history. Their first wheeled robot was built in 10 months. Fine. But then, they went from initial drawings to a fully functional bipedal robot, one that can dynamically walk and maintain its own balance, in just 3 months. 3 months. Their team was split across 3 cities. Vancouver handled mechanical design and locomotion testing. Boston focused on battery tech and power electronics. London built the AI systems, and their simulation pipeline is now fast enough to train a robot a new skill in simulation and deploy it to a physical robot within 24 hours. One day. Teach it something new, and it's doing it for real the next morning. The commercial traction is already there. They have 30,000 pre-orders. At Ford's Cologne plant, their robot handled sheet metal with both arms and exceeded performance expectations by 60%. At Siemens, it achieved a 90% autonomous success rate on a conveyor belt task. And Schaeffler, a massive global manufacturer, just signed a 5-year collaboration to deploy hundreds of these robots across their facilities worldwide. If this video opened your eyes to something you hadn't heard about, drop a comment telling me which robot surprised you the most. And if you want to stay ahead of what's actually happening in AI and robotics, not the hype, just the real stuff, hit subscribe. Because this space is absolutely not slowing down. I'll catch you in the next one.